Hi, I'm Tim O'Brien, and in this video, I'm going to share with you how to pick the right target market for you. A few years ago, I found myself at my printer in Westwood, California. Michael Zokai, it's Printing Depot is the name of the company. Michael is the owner. And I'm always looking for ways to gather new ideas to share with my clients about how they can gain a strategic advantage and or implement them for myself. And as I was standing there, I looked down and I saw something, and it was absolutely, it was genius. It was genius when it came to focusing on the right target market. Now, the reason I'm holding this piece of paper is because there was a box full of flyers, and they were shaped like this. So there was a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, but they were like this, so there was cut. So this was the dimension, and on it, it had the person's name, it had their photo, and underneath it, it had the gay man's therapist. And I thought to myself, how genius is that? You talk about focusing on the right target market. I don't mean because that was the right target market for this person, but talk about focusing and clearing out all the noise and having with absolute clarity, like a laser beam, who you were going to market to. You know, in Los Angeles, there's a large gay population, and there's a heavy concentration of the gay community in West Hollywood. He actually could have said his name, his picture, and the gay man's therapist in West Hollywood only, and he would have had a massive amount of opportunity. Santa Monica Boulevard runs through West Hollywood. He could have said, legitimately, the gay man's therapist for people who are located between La Cienega and Robertson, which were two perpendicular streets that ran perpendicular to Santa Monica. And that would have been a huge concentration, and he could have had more business than he possibly could have handled. But then I looked down and there was another box. And it said, the San Gabriel Valley therapist. And then there was another one, the Santa Monica therapist. And another one said the Valley therapist. And I just was so crestfallen, because in an instant, he went from being focused like a laser beam to being all over the place. You see, the key to selecting the right market is to be so unbelievably super focused. We don't have budgets like GM. We don't have budgets like Nike or Underarmour. So we can't afford to spray and pray because our message falls like a light mist. What we need to do is be incredibly targeted. So when you choose your target audience, think about, can you define it geographically? Can you define it in business size? Can you define it by industry? I'll give you one example. Say you're a financial advisor and you're in Los Angeles. What if you were a financial advisor to managing partners of law firms only? How much more focused would you be? The problem with that is most people are afraid to do that because it narrows their focus, and it can get scary, because what if I don't capture that market and then I lose all this other low-hanging fruit? Well, I'm telling you, you go in on that market and it's small enough that you can build a reputation. Trust me, you will become the person to see with your target audience. So first thing I want you to do when thinking about your target audience, how can you narrow it? Next, it's got to be large enough so that if you got 10% of the business, you couldn't handle all of it. I have a client of mine, he's in Alberta, Canada, and he's in commercial real estate. It's not a large enough market for him to specialize in just tenant representation or just landlord or just capital market sales of buildings. He's got to specialize in commercial real estate. And I understand that, it's no problem. The market is small enough that having all of those different component parts to his marketing plan is not too overwhelming, but it's also very confined. Now, if he added to that, let's say appraisal work or residential real estate or other things related to real estate, then I'd have a problem with it. So you want to make sure your market is large enough that if you got 10% of all the business, you couldn't handle it. Lastly, you can't move on until you capture a full 50% of your market. The truth of the matter is I make it that high because you'll never capture 50% of the market. So if you put those three things together, focus like a laser beam, got to be large enough that if you capture 10%, you can't handle all of it. And lastly, you can't move on unless you capture 50% of it. You put those three things together, and you're going to have a super, super focused target market.